at times when people come and just want to talk about other things.
Yeah.
And so I thought, photography, have I done an interview about other issues?
Yeah, that's my own.
People want to talk about reassurances. So
Well, what we found was that the markets had rallied a little bit just before the announcement of the vote, expecting, as had been widely forecast, a win for Prime Minister May in the confidence vote brought about by the European Research Group, the arch Brexiteers, if you like, within her party. But then, of course, they saw what the actual majority was, and it wasn't very large. It was 83 votes. That means that a third of the parliamentary party was actually against her, and it wasn't just clearly the sort of extreme Brexiteers, if we want to call them that. The market therefore has fallen a little bit. That is, sterling has fallen a little bit as a result. It's now stabilised around 1.26, which isn't actually particularly high, given that we had started perhaps sort of last week or the week before with it being at 130.
And you said on Monday, if you're home, they almost fell. I mean, in the year, it was really huge.
I think the best that they could do is something that would say that, in fact, when it comes to looking at whether the backstop can be activated, because we haven't reached a trade deal, there will be all sorts of options on what can be done. So we could talk about an extension of the transition period, which Parliament can vote on, which already had been hinted. But it can also mean that other solutions could be found rather than, at that point, rather than the backstop necessarily coming into force.
And of course, what I did not say is with the pound being low, people don't want to be here anyway because.
But in reality, from an economic viewpoint, we're not really that significant. Yes, we have 65 million people and one of the biggest economies in the world, but in reality, when you look at exports from the UK to the EU, we export about 45% of our goods and services to them, rather of the exports of goods and services to the 27 countries. When you look at what the 27 countries export to the UK, that is only about 7 to 8% of their overall exports. So we're quite insignificant, which really meant in the negotiations that we didn't really have very many cards.
When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it?